If there's one thing we can all agree on, it's this. Permanent alimony is the biggest scam on earth right now. I can see a case for alimony for maybe a year, and even then, it should be no more than a stipend to cover the absolute basic living expenses while that spouse finds a job. We're talking maybe $2,000 to $4,000 a month, regardless of the wealth of the other spouse. However, if both spouses are working at the time of divorce filing, alimony shouldn't be a thing at all. The problem with no-fault divorce is that 90% of the time, the man loses custody of his children, his home, and half his money. It quadrupled the male suicide rate. 2/3 of all males' suicides are from divorced men. The government financially incentivizes women to divorce men. We literally have a situation where being masculine has been all but made illegal. Your typical family court or divorce court judge will deal with one man a year on average who will be compelled to end themselves because they can't fulfill court orders. What ended the idea and institution of marriage was the promotion of broken families. The law should be that no man signs a birth certificate without DNA confirmation of paternity. End paternity fraud. It's as simple as that. Men should not automatically pay child support to the mother, especially if he's the majority timeshare parent. Married or not, there should be mandatory parenting courses that include a signed agreement to care for the children no matter what. No-fault divorce was just the thing that took down the last wall, preventing the family unit from breaking from the said promotion of broken families. If the laws were implemented fairly and made sense, things wouldn't be nearly as bad as we are today. In fact, governments do all they can to make things unfair. Just look at common law marriage. Mandatory paternity test at birth in Tennessee, getting rid of no-fault divorce in Texas, removal of permanent alimony in Florida. It's just a start. But this doesn't mean it's safe to consider marriage now. This needs to be the norm across all of the states. But honestly, I think the damage that years of ignoring these problems in order to keep the money rolling into the government is far too large and far too deep for men to just change course. And of course, these new laws will have plenty of kickback from the women. So, marriage is still a big lose-lose situation for men, and we are tired of holding the dirty end of the stick. This is probably one of the biggest wins for men so far in the US. The reason why in the old days people rarely got divorced was because they needed serious reasons like physical abuse, infidelity, or abandonment, with proof, not just allegations. I'm so glad this is back in effect, and now they won't have a choice but to get married for real love and go the distance in marriage. Politicians aren't doing this because of passport bras, they are doing it because of low birth rates, which has been a known issue for decades. Low birth rates mean fewer people paying into Social Security. That's what they're really worried about. Politicians want the money and don't care about what's right or wrong. Marriage rates have dropped to historic lows and will stay that way until the laws are changed. That's the reality we are facing today. Regardless of how things end, the man should always walk away with 100% of what is his. Women from the past 50 years should be made to repay every single cent they stole. Mandatory jail time for women who have children not belonging to their partner. And these are just the basics. Lots of novel ideas that sound good at first have atrocious, unforeseen consequences. No-fault divorce is a textbook example. We didn't foresee that it would encourage women to marry for money and soon divorce in order to take that money for themselves. Women are open that they are doing this nowadays. In videos, women call the first marriage a starter marriage, meaning that she envisions it in advance as temporary. There's nothing worse than going to the home you worked your back off for, to pick up the kids for your weekend, and another man is sitting in your lazy boy watching your big screen TV. To all you young men, think about it, just don't do it. A girlfriend is just as good, and if things do not work out, you still get to keep what is yours. You don't have to watch another man enjoy what you worked for. The problem men have today is that we've been educated that men and women are equal. There was this sense and understanding that men are providers, where they are the breadwinners for the family, as well as their protectors from other men or from the evils of society. and if you don't provide that role, you get kicked out of your community. Or if the man is an alcoholic or an abuser, he'd be divorced. So that's what divorce used to mean for men. But now, after the feminist no-fault divorce phenomenon, it has changed the game entirely. Now, the men of this generation and the next who have been brought up in the era of feminism and who are made to believe that men and women are equal have to also pay for child support, they have to pay for alimony and fight for their kids. And all the while, society tells everyone that men and women are equal. That doesn't make sense if you think about it. There's nothing in such a situation. We all know that the legal system is designed to work in favor of women and use men's resources to pay for their financial expenses for the rest of their lives. Women were never aligned with their men in what they wanted to achieve in life, and there have been many cases where women had actually planned to marry wealthy men, only to divorce them and live off of divorce money without having to work for the rest of their lives. Women have deceived men into marriage only to take away their resources. A lot of the credit goes to the MegTo movement that allowed men to share their experiences and opened each other's eyes regarding the true nature of women. If gender equality was always the goal, then there is nothing that women have to be upset about here. It's mission accomplished. The only motivation for declaring this unfair is to facilitate the ongoing usury of men for financial gain. You can't have it both ways. You can't crow about being equal and independent whilst demanding to have your life financially subsidized in perpetuity. The government, women, and the courts have done this to themselves, so in the end they need to suffer for their own greed, stupidity, and selfishness. Man won't marry for a long time, and as such I will educate all young males to not fall for this treacherous pitfall that we call marriage. Women are miserable, emotionally and mentally broken, eventually physically broken, and have gained no benefits over all that any of them can attest to. The only people thinking they've gained benefit are those still young and playing, and they believe they will never be old. No, not them. They accept no responsibility, tear each other down constantly, are the owners of all the things they blame men for, and can't see anything factual or rational at all until everything blows up in their faces. In lieu of marriage, women are being subsidized by men and by law. We do it now in the form of unfair divorce laws, alimony, and child support, and in the insurance rates we pay. It's unlawful to charge women more for health insurance, though women get most of the care. This subsidization of women by men is increasing every year. A paternity test should be mandatory in every state at the time of birth, and no-fault divorces and no permanent alimony should be done away with in every state. Good luck getting them to do so, though. The fact is, everything men used to get from marriage can be received outside of one now that it is no longer seen as shameful to do so by modern standards. If someone files for divorce, let them leave with what they paid for. Nothing else. No child support, no money. Parents get 50-50 custody unless one opts out, but even then, no dollars to the ex. If one can't afford to raise, house, clothe, and feed kids part-time, then they don't get custody. Also, mandatory paternity tests at childbirth and in the event of divorce. If not his kid, the woman has to make full monetary reparations and dollars for emotional damage and jail time for fraud. Thanks for watching Man Reacts. Show us your love and support by liking this video, sharing it with your friends, and subscribing to the channel. And let us know your thoughts on this in the comments. We're always up for a healthy debate and discussion.